Good knee work is essential to great ball striking. Wow. The knees are mirroring the hips and the shoulders. The knees are reactionary. You don't have to think about it. Body works seamlessly. Beautiful. Hey there, Segudo golfers. Tom Segudo here. A question I get a lot from my students is, how do I know if my swing is working correctly? Where you want to check, and it's so simple, we're going to be looking at the knees and why good knee work is essential to great ball striking and how important the knees are to a good golf swing. When you watch great ball strikers, no matter legends from old, great ball strikers today, you're going to see this type of knee work. The front knee moving down and the trail knee moving up. And then in the downswing, you're going to see the opposite. You're going to see the knees working like so, where the front knee moves forward, lateral, and then the golfer springs up as if extending fully towards the target. It's a very powerful action. But what's really surprising about knee work is that you don't have to think about it to have a good golf swing. It's something that is the result of doing a few things in your swing. So when we look at the knees are reactionary, meaning when I turn my shoulders and I turn my hips, the knees respond. That's good. It tells me they're attached to my body, for one. Do the same thing from here. Watch. Rear view. The knees and hips respond together. If your swing isn't working correctly, you'll know right away, because your knees don't do anything, or if at worst they just move in and level like this. They're sliding on this type of line. The average golfer that I see, usually shooting somewhere in the 80s and 90s or higher, I see a locking of the lower body, a flexing of this trail leg, and as I swing back, this knee works in, the hips move a little bit back. So you see this levelish knee situation. Even if that's slightly down, it's not enough down to tell me your body's working correctly. In fact, this is just a sway into my right side. And one of the things you're seeing here too is my head moving off the ball in response. So as I go back, 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 I start lifting my arms because I'm restricted, and my body, my shoulders really aren't turning much at all. My left shoulder barely gets past my chin. But contrast that with a swing that works correctly, demonstrated by the best ball strikers ever. Just anybody who's great. I'm going to get my knees working. My front knee moves down because as I turn my shoulders and my hips, my body is allowed to stay in a relationship to the ground. So the knees are mirroring the hips and the shoulders. And it's really the big three of a great golf swing, is these areas being synced up. And we're seeing how the knees are affected by these areas. If I shift and sway, my hips are staying level because they're not allowed to turn. They're just locked against this leg here. And my shoulders gradually will level out in response because the hips and shoulders are connected with those knees. So that whole song you learned in elementary school, head, shoulders, knees and toes, well in golf it's kind of like the same thing. I keep my head in place and I turn my shoulders down and allow my hips to turn, head in place, head, shoulders, and then hips, knees and toes. And you see the knees work as if they're on a swivel. So to get your golf swing working correctly, how do we get everything swiveling? We start with understanding how do we keep the big three, shoulders, hips, knees, turning in relationship to the ground instead of leveling and losing that relationship, which kills your power, it kills your consistency. We have to think about, I'm holding a watermelon or some imaginary huge object with my arms fully extended. And when I get set, I'm pushing my belt buckle down towards the ground, so that sets a relationship with the hips of the ground, unlocking my knees to be dynamic. My spine is tilted towards the ground. Everything is going groundward. We're not playing baseball, so we're down here trying to hit a ball down here. And then I'm going to feel my shoulders swing back and forth. You'll know your shoulders are doing it when the front shoulder moves past your chin and your trail shoulder moves behind your neck. So it's not an arms thing like this. That happens way too often. People think they're turning their shoulders when they're not. So by pulling this machine back with this imaginary watermelon, it's like I'm drawing a bow, not feeling tension in that sense, but I'm drawing back all these pieces. Watch the shoulders pull back, watch the right knee straighten. Watch the hips turning because that right knee's straightening. Keep drawing back the bow. Boom. At the top of my backswing, I've kept this relationship. The longer the club, the bigger the turn here. So driver, I'd have the most knee straightening, this knee down the most power stored, biggest shoulder turn. And it goes the farthest. The cool thing about all this is it's effortless compared to the effortful keeping the knees locked, swinging the shoulders, leveling. That feels tense. It's killing you. So I've felt what it's like to get my hips, knees, shoulders, everything working on that line to the ball. In the swing, you just have to visualize the straightening of this leg to set the chain reaction along with the shoulder turning down. If you have everything set in a relationship to the ground, those two motions, pull the right knee back and up, push the lead knee down, the tilt does that. The shoulder moving down does that. And then just allowing this to straighten gives you a bigger turn. So all these complex moves, you hear about people in the backswing just thinking about, oh, they think knee work is what people consciously work on to hit the ball well. Knee work is a reaction. I don't think about getting over the ball and then going, push this down. No, that doesn't do anything. I could just sit here and do this. The swing will not start on its own, pushing this way. Yeah, my hips move. I have to have something else move it. The shoulders move it. Shoulders pull around, then the knee moves down. I'm not trying to get into it though. It's a reaction. The knees are a reaction to the shoulders and hips. Contrary to what you hear a lot on the internet today, I think people are just making stuff up because they're bored. The same stuff's been going on forever. It's just physics and geometry. There's laws. Because there's laws, there's an optimal way to do things. There's not just guesswork here. We move the shoulders, moves the hips, moves the knees. So why don't we hit a ball? We're going to hit a ball, presetting a little bit more weight forward to engage the hips and the knees. It also presets a good contact point. The golf swing is a circle. We rotate. We do not shift and sway. That just moves contact all over the place. No sense in doing that because life's too short to play bad golf. So we set the weight forward. I swing the shoulders. I feel the hips move as if they're on a swivel. Now that ball just exploded off the face without much effort at all. And you should be watching my hips. Just look at how those knees move down. The hips swivel right through the ball. We'll be getting to the downswing, but it's really important you change your perception of knee work, footwork. I think it's just got too much importance today as far as we look at knee work and footwork as that cause when it's really a reaction. So I set up, relationship. I can't do this without a relationship. If I set up with my hips level, where are the shoulders gonna go? Level. Unless I try and go, move my hips down. So you have to set up with those hips pointing more at the ball. You're not gonna hear that anywhere on YouTube. Now I feel this whole relationship to the ball. All right, good strike again. Body works seamlessly. Okay, so we're still on the backswing here, knocking away hundreds of years of misconceptions about these knees. The feet. You might notice how my feet are flared out. This flaring out has been done by the best ball strikers. Sam's knee is a great example, the most free-flowing, effortless swing you've probably seen. Whew. Those knees are outward facing, not inward facing. I know you Hogan fans are gonna be like, well, Hogan said, Hogan said. Hogan said it, and Hogan even wrote in his book, yeah, he did move this foot in so he could restrict some of his hip turn. That's what he did. He wanted to restrict some of his hip turn. I don't recommend it, because keeping this knee in, one, places stress on the knee. Two, when you place stress on your knee, you lock the hips. When you lock the hips, the arms go up. But Hogan had a lot more change in his right knee flex than you would think. So he's not keeping this locked and flexed. No. You see him at the top, you're seeing that leg move swiveling. So even if he started from this position, let's say I started from an inward facing Hogan-esque position, he would allow the hips to turn. This is a topic for another day, but the essence of Hogan's knee flex was just to slow some of the initial hip turn in the first part of his swing. Because if you were to turn your hips a lot in the beginning, you move the club way low and under. So what he's doing is he's slowing that to keep club on the proper path, and by the time he gets to the top, he's still straightening the leg, just like I am. So before you get on your keyboard and start typing, Hogan said, just know that Hogan's doing that for himself because he wants to swivel those hips a lot faster. I guarantee it. So I'm going to start from this inward position. I'm still going to do knee action like Hogan, because you'll see with Hogan a straightening of that side. You'll see with the best ball strikers a straightening all the way from the shoulder down through the knee. You're not going to see this static, crooked looking thing because it's jumbly. In, he might be in here. Once again, not something I would do because I like the freedom of movement that comes from starting with the knees out. So we have the feet out to promote rotation, the knees are out to promote rotation, the hips are allowed to turn more, the shoulders are allowed to turn more. This all comes back to contact though, and power, but contact first. Because I'm turning in a circle, my left arm is allowed to remain straight, and that means my contact point will always be out in front of the ball. That's the most essential element, and it's often why a lot of people don't understand, and they start making comments that are just like way off the reservation. It's because they don't understand what creates good contact. They'll say, well, rhythm and balance is the key to a good golf swing. I've seen 30 handicap swings with good rhythm and balance, and there's still 30 handicaps. It's just majestically looking filth. So we can have a more rhythmic swing, if that's your forte, just by getting the knees out, hips forward. I can swing as smooth as I want. I don't even have to feel restriction. Whoop. Swivel. Whew. That brings me to the downswing, folks. There's a lot of talk on the downswing about knee work. This whole idea of trying to rip and post up on your front leg by turning those hips fast and hard. Okay, the posting up action isn't something you want to do right away. We're not just going to go from this to straight, because look at my hips, they just spin. And when I start down by spinning the hips, the club can get pulled over, the shoulders can get pulled over. That's pulling you over and down. And my weight's going back. So I post it up a lot. On the other side, you got pros moving lateral, and then that post up happens. So watch this. Start down, keeping my weight forward. Boom, I'm set right here. The knee is still bent, I'm not posted up, and then this extension and post up happens and the hips turn. That means everything that you've stored is still being stored into here, not being wasted. Wasted, knee work, hip work. Stored, slingshot. So how do pros do that? They don't try and just spin out. No, they keep the weight staying forward. They think about this lateral element. So the weight staying forward, the shoulders turning, pushes the hips more forward. that action sets you up in a slingshot. So setting the weight forward, let's sling one. You'll see my hips fire a lot later. A lot later. Let me try and do an example of just spinning out, trying to post up on that leg right away. I mean, that's a lot of hip turn. I can feel my weight moving back and the club's going down and I'm flipping. If you try and be too active with your knees, you're gonna run into that problem, spinning out in variable contact. Pros can't afford to do that. It's more like this. And then launching it. You feel like you're setting a catapult. I'm delaying the knees, funny enough, to speed up the shoulders. Wow, that was cool. Let's go down the line a little. Observing the downswing here. Spin out, down, across. The only way I can make that work as a pro, if I was gonna get in a good spot from here, I have to do this. To really twist, contort my body in unnatural positions that will never bode well for me later on in life. And then I gotta hit the ball. That doesn't add speed, it's just a massive rerouting and having to coordinate a dropping of the club. So what we can do instead is not that. We just set the weight forward, keep it forward, and I'm accelerating my shoulders. Keep that whole relationship to the ball. Let the weight stay forward, slingshot it. That's a long way. That brings me to another thing on the downswing. I'm keeping my right knee back because it's accelerating everything. So you don't see the right knee just kicking in and the club dropping. Now you see the right knee staying back to accelerate the shoulders. Weight forward, right knee back. You'll swing plenty fast. It's a lot of acceleration for not a whole lot of effort. And you can see that straightening of the right leg on the backswing and then keeping it straight on the downswing to accelerate the club faster. So I can maximize power doing this and then going, whew, feeling that. Let's try and maximize one. That's a beauty. Wow. We're just warming up today. So knee work is a result. Good knee work is a result of getting your body to work together. It's not something you force. If your knee work is subpar, I should say if your knee work is not good, because subpar is good and go. If your knee work is bad, it doesn't work with your body. It just does this. That tells you that your shoulders aren't turning, your hips aren't turning, or maybe your knees are too flexed. But good knee work, working towards the ball, you see dynamic everything. You don't see a static position. Everything seems to go poetry motion. But it's the direct result of having that relationship maintained to the ball throughout the entire swing. And then taking that and catapulting it forward by the power of the shoulders, extending your spine upward. And that's what I talk about in my Become a Great Ball Striker mini course. Get it for free. go.segudo.golf. It's the link in the comments and description below. 17 videos, 45 minutes of content. Start ripping the cover off the ball. All right, I think it's time to do a little bit of driver just for fun. Driver, I talked a little bit about how you get a bigger turn and a bigger hip turn, a bigger shoulder turn, just because it's a longer club. So I have more range of motion here, and that's going to result in a bigger hip turn, bigger shoulder turn, more knee movement. But I'm not trying to force that. It's just built in with the longer club. So the speed's all built in here. Let's get set. Oh, I love this new flat lie angle from PXG. All right, set the weight forward. Just rotate around that front post. That's a nice ball. Yeah, we'll take that. You should see the straightening of my right leg. Don't be shy about going into this foreign territory, by the way, of getting groovy with it. I'm not talking about just locking the leg. This is cheating. Some of you will do this, and I will not be happy. I'm watching. Here we go again. My entire body is in a relationship with the ball. I love the ball, but I'm going to hit it. Keeping that relationship. Wow. That is long. All right, let's show them from the front. Here we go again. Woo. Look at those dynamic knees. I'm gonna pull them around. You're gonna be beautiful, I tell you. I lost sight of it. Oh, okay, there it is. It's like, you must have hit one of those drones out in New Jersey. That's a lot of speed for not much of a swing. All right. By the way, the effort level is so minimal. Even though I have a bigger backswing, if I do, it's totally just allowed by my body. I'm not forcing it. It's not because I'm young and restless and flighty and all those things that a lot of people say, hey, you're just a young guy. I teach 75, 78-year-olds all day long, and I got a great video on my golf school of a 75-year-old going from here to here just by allowing his hips to work. And he's like, wow, I didn't know I had that much backswing in me. That's what happened. If people spent more time just actually doing it and instead of making excuses, wow. Wow. All right, cool. I think we'll even go from the rear too. Why not? Because we're here. All right. There we go. Beauty, right down the middle. And to quote Forrest Gump, that's about all I have to say about that.